Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Well, hello there, and how you doing? Welcome. It's November 21, shortened holiday week. I'll be here today and tomorrow, and then I'm heading off to Wisconsin, and then we'll get back to business post Thanksgiving. If I forget, I wish you all a very happy holiday. Why do I sound so subdued? Because it's Monday? I don't know. I wish I liked soccer. Jeez. It's all there is all over the place. World Cup. And I'm just not into it. And the fact that it's in Qatar, the New York Times had a big story today on how to pronounce it. And if you read the article, you found out that say it however you want to say it is what it amounts to. Because if you're not going to pronounce it is true that if you pronounce it like Qatar, which I think generally is what Americans say, it's okay. I used to say Qatar, and then people started saying Qatar. So I went with Qatar, not to cause a stir or anything. And yet the British do something different. The Germans something else, and the Qatarians or whatever the hell they are pronounce it in their own way. I mean, you can either look. It's not like we pronounce Paris the way the Parisians pronounce it, right? They don't say Paris. So I think everybody should calm down. And there's something, it always sounds sort of pretentious, whether it's intended to be or not, when somebody who does know how to properly pronounce a foreign place name always pronounces it properly. And it just sounds stupid because we're Americans and you should pronounce it like an American does. I don't know. Give a damn. And there's something about Qatar in general which makes my skin crawl. That's oil. That's oil money. That's why the soccer world is there. I saw something astonishing in something I read. You know how many people are in Qatar? About 3 million. You know how many of them are citizens, are actual citizens of Qatar, of those 3 million? 300,000. That's it. It's a country of fewer residents than Pittsburgh. But man, they're sitting on that oil and all that money. And so the world comes. And so who are the vast majority of people who are living there? They're not citizens, and God help them if they think they're going to ever be citizens. They're people trying to cash in any way on some of that money, but most of them are poor. They're the ones who built the gleaming skyscrapers and the infrastructure and the stadium and all of that, and then live in hellholes in the desert with no air conditioning. So I just have this about the whole spectacle. And there's something about, it's sort of like, is it FIFA or FIFA, whatever the hell it is. It's another noxious organization. Sort of like the IOC. I don't know. I'm just trying to avoid. The only other thing I saw that was of any interest to me was that the the players on the Iranian team did something extremely brave when their national anthem was played. I believe they might even be playing right now. I don't know. They're playing, I think, England, and they did not sing their national anthem. That obviously did not go unnoticed, because here I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I know about it. You could bet they know about it back in Iran. And wow. So I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for those players, if not their country. God. So, how do you lose a garbage can? That's all I want to know. Somebody took my garbage can. I don't have one. I had one. I put my garbage out in it last week. And then when I went to get it back, it was gone. I live in a relatively affluent neighborhood. There's no reason anybody needs to be stealing garbage cans. So it's a puzzlement. And I have on my to-do list today, go buy a garbage can. But I'm annoyed that should be something I have to do. Because who the hell took my garbage can? Anyway, that's neither here nor there, I suppose. As is often the case, especially on Monday mornings, I'm avoiding talking about some of the heavier news stories. God knows they're always there. The most recent mass shooting, targeting, of course, a community that is the recipient of all kinds of hate speech spewed by members of the Republican Party. Yeah. I see that Ms. Boebert, who unfortunately squeaked by and won another 2 years in Congress, that happened in... is that her district? I think it might be Colorado Springs. And she, of course, sent out the usual prayers and thoughts and all of that kind of stuff. But I have a quote from her from just a few months ago when she warned, quote, all you drag queens out there to stay away from the children in Colorado's 3rd district. So, I mean, she's got blood on her hands. Anyone who whips up this anti-gay, anti-trans stuff that someone then takes to the logical end game, when you dehumanize humans, other people then see no problem in taking them out. When you say that whole groups are a threat somehow, yeah, it leads to violence, death. Incredible. Oh, speaking of death. Notice how my tone got happier immediately. Speaking of death, I came upon, actually this is on Twitter, which is as good as gone. Somebody tweeted out the causes of death. This is from some newspaper or something, or some record book. from 1632. 1632, almost 400 years ago. And the title is Causes of Death in London in the year 1632. Well, wow. I mean, first of all, it's wonderful. It's wonderful in what things are called, because they're not necessarily calling things by the names we do. And I'm not, in fact, really sure what some of these means of death actually were. But they have all the possibilities, and then they have next to them how many Londoners died that way. Well, there are a few standouts, and the number one is one that I don't understand, because this killed the most people. 2,268 people were dead of chrysomes, Chrisomes, chrysomes, but then it says, and infants. So the infants, I'm thinking this shows the with, I don't know what the chrysome thing is, but infants died. Infant mortality was just, that was the biggest, that was the demographic you didn't want to be in. Just born, you were more likely to be just dead. And then the next one up is consumption, which I believe is tuberculosis, right? With almost 1,800 dead. And then fever is listed as another with over 1,000. And then it drops into three figures. And but some of them are just, it says here that 470 people died because of their teeth. What do they mean? Now, actually, we do know now that dental health is an indicator of overall health, and that if your teeth go, that's not good in general. But they actually have as a cause of death teeth. And I don't think they mean people were like mauled to death. Accidental death, just 48. My God, lethargy killed 2. How does lethargy kill you? I'd like to know. There were 445 abortive or stillborn, and one poor soul died because they got frightened. It says one died affrighted. One also died bit with a mad dog. 5 were burned and scalded. 1 had canker. 6 were dead in the street. 7 from falling sickness. 1 of vomiting. 62 suddenly. 7 murdered. My God. In a big town like London, in an entire year, only 7 were murdered? Didn't they have a Second Amendment there? What the hell? Just 7? My God. 38 from the King's Evil. Can't imagine what the hell that is. And 15 made away with themselves. So more suicides than murders, and 11 died of grief. Anyway, other things, cancer. It says cancer and wolf, WOLF, 10. So who knows what that means? You got to bet there was more cancer around, but I don't know. 5 people burst and ruptured. And a whole bunch, they say, aged. That's right. What did they die of? They got old. And who knows what that means? Could have been 42. Wow, 171 died from childbed. I suppose that means that's maternal death in childbirth, I would bet. Wow. Measles 80. And, we're with people not getting vaccinated for measles, we could get back into that, too. And man, if 98 didn't die from rising of the lights, you tell me what the hell that is. Oh, Barbara, you like my new look? Yeah, that is my new look. But, I guess I better talk about this. If you go online, it's already online, but we haven't done it on the show yet, which seems a little silly. We got to get a new recording. We've changed the name of the show. Gone is Lynn Cullen Live. And what happened is it was suggested that because I don't look like that picture that's smiling out at you. I'm an old lady. I got white hair. So right before Lisa Cunningham left the paper in protest, God bless her, she said, I think we should do this. And then she left, and people that are there said, yeah, we should do this. And they came up with a graphic with a left turn sign, and it said left turn with Lynn Cullen. And they asked me what I thought of that. And I at first said, what? I thought, what's left? What does that mean? Because a lot of people who are to the right of me might see me as left, but I got news for you. An awful lot of people to the left of me sure as hell don't see me as a lefty. And I myself have never been. I felt that much maligned term liberal is what best defines me. So I push back on left turn just because I don't think that's, again, I'm just whoever the heck I am, and I just can't be pushed into a category comfortably. At least I am uncomfortable in any category. So I came up with what's left. Meaning, if people want to tune into me, you'll get a whole lot of different aspects of, a somewhat leftish point of view, but not always. And what's left also allows us to have some fun, I would think. Bit of a pun. Anyway, the powers that be over there said, okay, we'll go with that. What's left? And then they sent a photographer out and they took some pictures. And yeah, guys, that's what I look like now. You can tell it's the same person. She's just got, longer hair and it's white, gray, and stuff. And we didn't clean it up. Man, if you zero in, I couldn't believe the wrinkles and lines on my face. I haven't had my picture taken in so long. So anyway, yeah. So what's left with Lynn Cullen is the new name. And pretty soon, instead of, the intro will say that. And what's left with Lynn Cullen? And then I'll say, hello. Okay. So I don't know. Some of you might not like it. Some of you won't give a damn. And I actually count me in the people who don't really care all that much. But I thought left turn was too much for me. And not quite truth in advertising, because the lefties, the real lefties out there, don't see me as a fellow traveler. I don't think. That's sometime accomplice, but not a fellow traveler. Bob writes, after what happened in Colorado Springs over the weekend, I was hoping you'd say good morning. Good morning. Kind of a salutation. Not that it is a good morning. Because that's what I said after what happened at Pulse in Orlando in 2016. Yeah, well, I could have, yes. But I mean, in that regard, I would rarely say good morning without appending, it's just a manner of speech, because this ain't a good morning. But I take your point, Bob. You got a better memory than me. My God. Roger, on my garbage can, I bet your trash can blew away. Well, where would it blow? How far could it go? I live on a little teeny. It was pretty windy. Things were being blown off my porch for the last week. But where would it have gone? How far can an errant garbage can go? Whatever, it's gone. Someone's got my garbage can. Barbara writes in regard to pronunciations like cutter. A friend born in Italy in 1920 always said Roma and Milano and Napoli, not Rome, Milan, or Naples. And to the never-ending irritation to some, bruschetta, not bruschetta. Really? Bruschetta. 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 Not bruschetta. So that I didn't realize. I actually took a semester of Italian in college. And looking at that, I can see where, yeah, it would be bruschetta. But listen, around here we say, North versus Sales, okay? So who are we to talk? Man. Roger writes back about my errant garbage can. Ask your neighbors. I don't want to. I know that's the thing I should do. But I'm afraid one of them inadvertently took it. Somehow it might have blown and they took it thinking it was theirs. Or, sometimes the person who puts the garbage out is not the person who takes the cans back in. And some people don't notice things. So my guess is right. One of my neighbors probably has it. It just seems like I don't know. This is how non-assertive I am in reality. It just feels like an uncomfortable conversation, knocking on a neighbor's door and say, "Excuse me, might you happen to have my garbage can?" So I don't know. Oh, God. Okay, so what else? My, without a doubt, favorite story that I saw is actually a story that I had alluded to maybe months ago when I'd come upon it in maybe the science section of the New York Times or something. And it was about this census that had been undertaken trying to determine how many ants there were in the world. Now, how the hell you try to figure that out? But they did. They went about it, and these are scientists. and they came up, and I remember sharing this with you. They came up with a number so huge that you don't even know how to write it. It's a bunch of zeros, 20 quadrillion. And then other ant experts came out later and said, I wouldn't be surprised if that actually turns out to be an order of magnitude higher in reality, because they only were looking at ants. I guess they didn't include subterranean ants or certain kinds of ants. So I don't know. So they figure that is probably low ball. But let's do with the low ball number, because we ain't going to get our heads around anything else. What that means is for every person on Earth, for you, there are 2.5 million ants per person on Earth. 2.5 million ants. Now, I found that amazing. And then someone named Manju wrote a piece about it, because he too was floored, as he said, by that number. And he had always, even from the time he was a child, found ants fascinating. And I must say, I always have too. I mean, I can sit outside and watch ants going about their life's work and be fascinated by it. The busyness of it, the lines they form. This is a line that's going toward, this is a line coming from, and how they'll carry things that look 20 times their own weight. And everything about them is mind-blowing to me. And then this Manju wrote a piece that for some reason gave me such, I want to say, comfort and maybe even joy. It felt like a great weight had been taken from me. And I'll explain that a bit more later. But ants are just astonishing in the way they organize themselves, in the way they communicate. I mean, all of that seemingly very busy activity, but they never have traffic jams. And they clearly have a sense of the individual not being as important as we sometimes think they are. They see the collective, obviously, as I think, the important organizing thing. You can't have a bunch of individuals and get anywhere. And this guy starts with a statement that in many ways, ants are unquestionably superior to us. Now, for a species that is inclined to think of itself as the be-all and end-all, and even, in fact, has created religions that tell you that the creator of all felt we were the greatest thing invented. Created this, that, and the other thing, but wow, we were the greatest. Now, understand, I believe that that's because we created that narrative. But this guy says, if you can break away from that self-important, parochial, narcissistic view and look at the reality. Ants were here well before us, and ants will be here long after us. They are an example that we would do well in many ways to emulate. So they've been here much longer than us. They've been here for tens of millions of years. And you know what? They've been here on Earth in numbers so much greater than us. And guess what? They haven't depleted the environment. They haven't destroyed much of anything. He says, indeed, the opposite is true, because ants provide so many important functions that keep other things alive. When if you think about what we do a lot of functions that nobody asked us to do that kill entire species, the planet, who knows? He quotes the sociobiologist E.O. Wilson. He called ants the little things that run the world. So I just want to read to you this little bit. Because this is what made me feel good. It is natural for us to slip into thinking of humans as something special. By many objective measures, though, ants are far more consequential to life on this earth. And here's the sentence that got me. E.O. Wilson pointed out that if people were all of a sudden to disappear, okay, poof, we're gone. The world would suffer little. If ants and other invertebrates were to suddenly disappear, nearly everything would suffer. Because ants aerate the soil, they transport seeds, they aid in decomposition. They are among the most sophisticated and successful life forms ever on Earth. Now, yeah, we're smarter. We're bigger. And we've reigned for the last 300,000 years on Earth. That is a piddling number to any ant. We have conquered the planet. We have commandeered its resources. But compared with those of ants and the other social insects, our record will prove to be a blip. Now you see it, now you don't. This gave me great comfort. It truly did. Because all of this hand-wringing that, we're going to destroy everything. No, we're going to destroy ourselves. There's little doubt about that. And maybe that's not so bad. Huh? The idea that we will destroy the planet is ridiculous. The planet's going to do just fine, and in fact, better without us. Ants have been around for 140 million years. They have been farming for at least 60 million. Leafcutter ants forage for vegetation on which to grow a fungus they have domesticated. Other ants maintain herds of aphids that feed on the sap of plants, and then the ants milk the aphids. Ants are also, and you know this, master architects, formidable warriors, but they're also capable of enduring peacefulness. There are massive colonies of ants in which individuals from different nests, think of that as nations, mix freely among other ants from other nations. And this is spread across huge distances. And they do this because in their adaptation, they realized it benefits all to stow their any aggressive tendencies, and in fact, to work and live together. There is one super colony of ants that is known that spans nearly 4,000 miles from Italy to Spain. One scientist who has studied it said it is the largest cooperative unit ever recorded. So anyway, I just found that in a way it takes the heat off us. We're just passing through. We are a noisy blip. And I all of a sudden felt like peace because I guess it's perspective. I saw myself as somebody on this planet, part of a species that is wondrous in some ways, but horribly destructive, and will destroy and is destroying so much. But it will eventually cease. And the other, more highly developed, if you ask me, creatures will still be here. It's hard to imagine, this Manju guy says, that in a few million years, humans would be among Earth's dominant life forms. We ain't going to be here. Ants, though? Yeah, ants will. They were here before us. They will long outlast us. If you want to get things in perspective, understand that they pretty much are running things, and we are just visiting. I love that. Now, I have a feeling that some people would read that and get freaked. And I read it and feel relief. Such relief. Sorry. Why did I just say sorry? Because that's what women do. Women are always saying sorry for nothing in particular. God. Oh, I did get a laugh out of this, and I'm going to share it with you. Man, nothing eats its own more than these right-wingers. Whoa. And I'm thinking in particular of like Rupert Murdock, who talk about a human that exemplifies the destructive ugliness of the species. He used Donald Trump to make untold billions of dollars. Trump is a pipsqueak next to Murdoch's ability to use people. And Murdoch quite clearly doesn't have quite the use for him, Donald, than he used to. Because Donald's value to him has been dissipated. And so one of Murdoch's properties, the New York Post, that rag, was regularly building Trump up, spreading his lies, buttressing, burnishing his false image. And now the Post is having a field day belittling Trump. I mean, belittling him. There was the Humpty Dumpty thing. There was, after they had, well, Trump can barely get any attention. And here's the thing that made me laugh. When Trump announced that he is running for re-election, that would have been in the past something that the Post would, it happened on the cover for sure, and some clever little tabloid headline of some sort. There was an article in the New York Post on page 26, 5 paragraphs, tiny. That's all they gave him. And you know what the headline was? Florida man makes announcement. Whoa! Whoa! Oh, man. Wow. They loved him yesterday, and they stick a shiv in him today. Florida man makes announcement. You can't get better than that. I'll share a little bit of the story with you as well. Again, page 26. With just 720 days to go before the next election, a Florida retiree made the surprise announcement on Tuesday evening that he was running for president. In a move no political pundit saw coming, avid golfer Donald J. Trump kicked things off at Mar-a-Lago, his resort and classified documents library. I mean, come on. The Onion couldn't do better than that. That was the New York Post covering Donald Trump's announcement that he's running for president again. Is not that brilliant? I'm not done. I'll give you a little more. Mr. Trump will be 78 in 2024. His cholesterol levels are unknown, but his favorite food is a charred steak with ketchup. He has stated that his qualifications for office include being a stable genius. Trump also served as the 45th president. whoa, you cannot get meaner than that. Funny, mean. Isn't that the greatest thing you ever heard? Now, meanwhile, there's Murdoch's Fox News, the single most destabilizing entity to American democracy ever created. And they, too, have tried to distance themselves from Trump. He doesn't get anywhere near the mentions that DeSantis gets. That's who they decided to claim as the heir apparent, as the New York Post put it, the future. So DeSantis gets a ton of attention, and yet I'd say Murdoch, being nobody's fool, is playing both sides against the middle, because he knows he built up this huge Trump base. And so he will continue, I'm sure, to let Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity keep that going a bit. I can't pretend to know, but it would seem that Trump's in trouble, which is only good news. Over the weekend, there was a gathering of actually very specific gathering of Republicans, a group that, as far as I'm concerned, should not even exist. And that would be the Republican Jewish Coalition. Sort of like, as if the Nazi Party had a Jewish coalition. So these are the Jews that are in bed with the Republicans. And there's still a lot of them. Nowhere, if you look at all Jews in America, they're definitely a minority, but geez. So anyway, this Jewish Republican crowd was in Las Vegas, and all the Trump wannabes were there to, it's like a little beauty contest to give little speeches and to say, look at me, what do you think? Wouldn't I be good? Wouldn't I be good? And now the Republicans apparently are wringing their hands because of how many of these insatiably ambitious presidential wannabes are still in their under their tent. Of course, Ted Cruz, Mike Pompeo, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley. So they're all there doing their thing. DeSantis apparently got the biggest reception from the Jews. And in fact said this: the state of Florida is where woke goes to die. And I was thinking, I don't know about that, but I know that the state of Florida is where a bunch of old Jews go to die. Without a doubt. I had an uncle, my dear Uncle Louis, who went to Florida and then complained bitterly that there were too many Jews there. Anyway, so this is scaring the Republicans quite a bit. I'm sure they're scared in general. They got plenty to be scared about. They're loonies controlling the House. The fact that they could, again, have like 10 people running for the right to lead the party into 2024. And the concern there is, of course, that because Trump comes in to that fray with easily 30%, right? There's 30% of Republicans, diehard Trumpers. Some people think it's higher than that, but diehard Trumpers. So in a field like that, where everybody starts, taking away from everybody else, the person who ends up winning could well be, Donald Trump. And I say, let's go for it. I love the idea of him being the Republicans' nominee. They deserve him. They deserve him. And I feel okay about it because I have zero doubt that he will lose again. I don't want the Republicans to be able to disabuse themselves of Donald J. Trump as easily as they want to. It's quite clear that they think they can say, oops, well, that's over. We're moving on. But they can't. And they shouldn't be able to. Absolutely should not be able to. Jonathan writes about my garbage can. Anyone else would be on Nextdoor screaming, my garbage can was stolen. Thank you to the person who is so rude, so revolting, so cheap, that they stole my garbage can from right in front of my house. Oh, Jonathan's not done. This is your Nextdoor. At first, I thought it might be one of those many coyotes that we all seem to see. But now I know this theft was targeted to hurt me. Whoever you are, I hope you enjoy. I can. Well done, Jonathan. Well done. Barbara sent me a George Carlin clip. Right. I remember. I know this clip. Right. He was saying, the planet is fine. The planet will be fine. It's the people who are fucked. That's right. There's just no doubt about it. Barbara also says that she agrees with my love of ants. And she tells me male ants live the least amount of time, existing only to breed with female ants. And they die after a few weeks. Well, but I'm sorry, guys. I know this is painful for you to hear. But it's because that's all males in most cultures provide. They provide sperm. It's the females that give birth, create more and more ants, and then do the work. So ants live anywhere from a few weeks to multiple decades, but it depends on their gender and status. Males being the ones that they exist only to breed and then die. And females are born to work. What else is new? The ant's queen can live many years, and some as many as 30 years. Wow. In fact, some of the longest lifespans among ants is the black garden ant. Queens of that species have lived, close to 30 years. There's only one queen per colony, so most ants only live a few weeks total, although the workers can reach sometimes 7 to 8 years. Wow. Anyway, fascinating. fascinating. And those of you who find them somehow annoying, well, you misunderstand the true ranking here on Earth. Wow. I can't, Barbara, you're sending me so much wonderful stuff. I'll have to, look at this later. And Allison writes, now that Trump got the judges the Republicans wanted, and he got Roe overturned, and the move he made in Israel, moving their capital, big deal, they now are turning against him. Yeah, they got plenty from him. They rode him, used him, and now they want to get rid of him. And he'll take them down. And in that regard, I'm on his side. I really am. I'm on his side. Oh, I got to swear. My Twitter account is horrible now. I'm not going to be able to be on it much longer. There's just nobody there anymore. And my followers are dissipating. So, they're not there. It's all cool. You friggin' Musk. You jerk. You unbearable jerk. That was a helpful tool for me and for many. God dang. Anyway, this was something that was on my Twitter feed today. By the way, he let Trump back in, of course. He also let a bunch of LGBTQ haters back in because, that's what Elon does. But there was an ad that so cracked me up. I just have to, let me wing it by you to make sure I'm not nuts. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I refuse to help anybody get this stupid thing. But it comes with a video, and it's a video with a dog. I'm a sucker for dogs, so it caught my eye. But here's the line. Worried about your dog catching a cold after a bath or shower and not drying their coat in time? Now, that question, to me, is the stupidest thing I've seen, since I woke up. Who the hell would waste any energy worrying about their dog getting a cold because it just had a bath and then didn't get, first of all, you don't catch colds because you're cold or wet. You don't, damn it. Nor do dogs. And the fact of the matter is I could count on one hand the number of baths or showers my dog has had. They self-clean, if you ask me. Sorry to all the groomers out there. Worried about your dog catching a cold after a bath or shower. Now, if anybody would answer that question, yes, I would try to think how I really would feel. I would say that person is pathetic. And I would say, if that's what you worry about, gee, good God. So what they had, the thing was this super absorbent pet bathrobe. Oh man, it fit right on, and you could just, it was just great, easy to put on and take off. That's right, clothes for dogs. It's a growing industry. Makes me puke. Yeah. All right. Kurt says, I came across an old postcard saying a relative had come down with dropsy, likely edema related to heart failure, Anyway, here's chrism. Oh, so this is what the big killer in London in 1632 was chrism, comma, infants. Anciently, a chrism or chrism cloth was the face cloth or piece of linen laid over a child's head when they were baptized or christened. Originally, the purpose of the chrism cloth was to keep the consecrated oil, the chrism, from accidentally rubbing off. With time, the word's meaning changed to that of a white mantle thrown over the whole infant at the time of baptism. And then the term came to refer to a child who died within a month after baptism, because the chrism cloth was then used as a shroud. So there, thank you, Kurt, thank you. So chrism/infant, that was the largest group of deaths in London. If you managed to get a month away from your baptism, maybe you had a shot. Wow. Chrism, infants. There you go. Learn something every day. And I thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow. Susan should be joining us, and then I'm going to join her in Green Bay. Enjoy the blue sky and sunshine, okay? Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.